Welcome back to our channel where we present updates and concealed tales about royal family. We are happy to offer the following news. Meghan Markle speechless after royals bans her Invictus. Return at the last minute. Recent media reports attributed to sources familiar with senior members of the royal family and individuals close to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex indicate that prominent royal figures have voiced their disapproval of the Duchess of Sussex's involvement in the forthcoming Invictus Games. The accounts established the foundation for the council provided as a conscious decision made by the institution's leadership. This conclusion was conveyed through secret talks among prominent senior royals. The stories reveal that the outcome has inflicted significant distress onto the Duchess and suggest persistent institutional conflicts between the Sussexes and the Crown. The Invictus Games, inaugurated in 2014, are an international multi-sport competition established by Prince Harry to provide a sporting platform for service people who have been injured, wounded, or are afflicted by disease. The episode holds particular relevance in the Duke's public life subsequent to his military service. Harry's military career, encompassing 2 tours in Afghanistan, underpins his dedication to veteran welfare, imbuing the Games with personal relevance for him. Furthermore, the Games reflect his identity as a philanthropist. Since their inception, the Games have been promoted as platforms for community development, rehabilitation, and the sharing of narratives from former service members. The Duchess has been a fervent advocate of the Games since the inception of her relationship with Meghan Markle. She competed in the Toronto Games in 2017, Sydney in 2018, The Hague in 2022, and Dusseldorf in 2023. The historical attention directed towards these appearances has been considerable. Various accounts indicate that this pattern has consistently concerned royal aides and event organizers who worry that an intense focus on public figures may overshadow the narratives of athletes. The decision to omit the Duchess was reached after extensive consideration and deliberation, rather than being an impulsive choice. The outcome is portrayed as the consequence of extensive secret conversations with King Charles, the Prince of Wales, and the Princess of Wales. During this period, the paramount concern for senior members was to ensure the preservation of the primary mission of the Invictus Games. This goal is to honor the achievements and fortitude of injured service members. These sources indicate a consensus that the media's excessive focus on the Duchess's involvement has historically posed a risk of eclipsing the narratives of other participants and diverting public attention from the event's primary purpose. The decision made was described as an effort to realign the Games with its declared objectives and to ensure that the activities would consistently prioritize veterans. The sources have reported on a significant occurrence that transpired at a high-profile, 1-year-to-go engagement in Canada. This event was intended to commemorate the forthcoming inaugural Winter Invictus Games scheduled to take place in Vancouver and Whistler. The milestone was celebrated with the Duke and Duchess's attendance at a public event. Buckingham Palace asserts that it was not officially notified via the proper channels regarding the aforementioned trip. This assertion is corroborated by individuals well-versed with the palace's protocols. Insiders at the palace see the purported absence of formal notification as a procedural breach that intensified the pre-existing tensions between the Sussexes and the institution. The royal household is reportedly implementing tougher compliance with regulations pertaining to engagements associated with organizations under royal patronage, especially those established by non-working royals. This narrative addresses the choice over the Duchess's attendance at the forthcoming Games. The decision is framed as a consequence of a broader pattern of uncoordinated activities and is also depicted as an effort by the palace to delineate more distinctly between the official responsibilities and the private endeavors of the Sussexes. Individuals in close proximity to the couple described the Duchess of Sussex's reaction to the decision as one marked by profound disappointment and irritation, particularly upon learning that they had been informed of the decision at their residence in Montecito, California. Her substantial investment in the event has been thoroughly recorded in public declarations and her prior participation. These documents indicate that she had been planning for the Games for some months, viewing the event as a principal platform for advocating for military families and maintaining involvement with veteran communities, which she has publicly endorsed. The agreements established before the decision encompass potential media appearances and partnerships with philanthropic organizations linked to the Games. The potential for exclusion represented a concrete constraint on participation, and by that time considerable effort had already been expended in preparation. The Duchess has allegedly engaged in a series of urgent communications with former aides and associates who retain connections with the royal household to understand and possibly contest the decision. Her objective is to build channels of communication and present her argument. The stories indicate that those conversations are marked by considerable effort and heightened sensitivity. Reports indicate that the Duchess emphasized her unwavering commitment to the Invictus community and articulated her belief that her involvement will expand the reach of the game's message. Conversely, the strategic experts advising the couple concluded that her absence might engender unfavorable opinions. The symbolic association of Invictus with the Sussexes' public collaboration indicated that a sudden withdrawal could provoke speculation regarding internal discord and could reinforce narratives of exclusion. The calculus was muddied by the couple's relationships in media and business. Sources within the entertainment sector indicate that the Duchess contemplated leveraging her association with Netflix, which produced the Heart of Invictus docuseries, to propose potential future collaborations in media that would highlight the games in a manner that resonates with veterans' narratives while simultaneously emphasizing aspects of her advocacy. Nonetheless, it was said that the Invictus organizers were unyielding to any accord that may compromise the editorial autonomy of the organization or utilize the event as a platform for content disproportionately centered on a single individual. While certain sources said she was contemplating a trip to London to arrange a direct meeting with senior royals, this notion was only briefly considered internally. Nevertheless, the experts cautioned against doing unexpected visits since they can be perceived as confrontational and could further aggravate the already strained family dynamics. The situation was further aggravated by speculations that during the same period, the Princess of Wales could be requested to assume formal duties linked to veterans. While it was not expressly said that another senior royal will replace the Duchess of Sussex at Invictus, some close to the Sussexes viewed the idea as rather depressing. Insiders viewed the prospect as an affirmation that the decision was not merely logistical, but rather part of a comprehensive strategy intended to diminish the public visibility of the duo. Reports indicate that the Duchess's team allegedly explored alternative engagements in the United States centered on veterans to enable her to independently showcase her support for serving communities. These alterations have been claimed to have produced both personal and professional difficulties for Prince Harry. Among the initiatives he has founded, the Invictus Games stands out for its significant impact stemming from his military service and his articulated intention to create a therapeutic platform for his fellow veterans. Although he sustains a robust bond with the athletes and the essence of the event, his paramount allegiance lies with his wife and the life they have established in California. The couple has asserted that they have collaboratively navigated their lives among the pressures from the monarchy and the British press. The Duke is reportedly ensnared between two conflicting pressures: the requirements of the institution and his wife's articulated sense of public shame. According to the cited sources, the telephone discussion between King Charles and his son was serious and prolonged. The king seized the occasion to convey the palace's position to his son. He provided a lucid rationale for the choice to shield the Invictus Games from extraneous concerns and to maintain the participants as the focal point of attention. The king's tone in these narratives is characterized as gracious, yet the message was very clear. Harry's role as the founder would be welcomed with excitement, whereas the Duchess's presence was regarded as an intolerable complication. Observers indicated that the aforementioned directive instigated the intense discussions within the Sussex residence. The Duchess posited that Harry's attendance without her would be perceived as a capitulation to the royal family, so undermining their collective narrative of autonomy. She purportedly urged him to consider a boycott in solidarity. Conversely, Harry sought a compromise. Reports indicate that he initiated one of the most consequential discussions he has had recently with the Prince of Wales. He proposed many methods to mitigate the situation's impact, including the Duchess attending solely in a private role, without media engagement or engaging in a limited manner at small private family gatherings. Conversely, it has been reported that the Prince of Wales maintains the collective view that a distinct separation is essential to mitigate the intensity of what he and other senior royals have described as a persistent media circus surrounding the couple. The Duke was under significant pressure according to the sources. Historically, the veteran community has constituted an essential non-royal domain of identity for Harry. The community members saw him as Captain Wales, in the perception that his wife's public prominence had become a burden inside the community, exacerbated his distress. Observers report that palace officials extended a conditional offer to Harry. The invitation said that Harry would be allowed to attend contingent upon certain stipulations, including a pledge to arrive without camera crews, a vow not to engage in any other media endeavors that would detract from the event or other official commitments, and a promise to attend unaccompanied. The narratives indicate that these circumstances compelled Harry to make a pivotal decision that might affect his familial ties, his philanthropic legacy, and the equilibrium of his marriage. Commentators, both from within and outside of royal circles, have taken the decision to be an indication of a more comprehensive, strategic realignment rather than a unique occurrence. According to several sources, the decision has been made by the Prince of Wales together with other top authorities and with the backing of King Charles to abandon the practice of responding to public rebuttals and to pursue a strategy of systematic disengagement instead. The beginnings of this strategic stance can be found in the events that occurred following the interview that the Sussexes conducted with Oprah Winfrey in 2021. The conclusion that was reached by the more senior members of the royal family was that the responses of the general people accidentally helped to increase the platform of the Sussexes, which caused them to decide to make their activities increasingly unimportant by refraining from addressing them. The philosophy of strategic disengagement is described by those who are familiar with the matter as a carefully organized method of interacting with charitable organizations, foundations, and international players. This philosophy's purpose is to safeguard institutional initiatives against being overwhelmed by controversies that affect individuals. The communications team for the Prince of Wales has reasserted criteria for interactions with the members of the royal family, with a focus on the significance of avoiding situations that can create conflicts of interest in preventing personal issues from outside the family from casting a shadow on events. The Princess of Wales has been required to take on a more stable role in assisting families of military personnel, especially in regions that have historical connections to both of the princes, according to these sources. The engagements of the Duchess are purposefully chosen to be unassuming, modest, and concentrated primarily on sports in order to present a deliberate contrast to the spectacular, high-profile media atmosphere that is associated with her. The scope of the approach has been expanded to include confidential briefings for Commonwealth states about the norms that are relevant to the travels and engagements of royals who are not employed, so assuring that any future visits by the Sussexes will be regarded without a doubt as private matters. In order to prevent potential scheduling conflicts that could result in rival announcements, the administration of the royal calendar has been strengthened. Not only are invitations not sent out, but access to institutional communication channels is blocked, and access to official locations is even more restricted than before. The intention behind these strategies is to marginalize intrinsically rather than to make public announcements. According to the information provided by sources, the Sussexes are currently facing limitations that are intended to reduce their possible impact on the public and commercial sectors, which is a result of their ongoing relationship with the royal family. According to what has been stated, a significant aspect of this strategic approach was disclosed by the organizers and by experienced campaigners who are associated with the Invictus Games. Rather than expressing antagonism towards other people, the concerns of those on the inside are expressed as a desire to preserve the spirit of the event. The first time that Harry and Meghan appeared in public was at the 2017 Toronto Games, an event that was fraught with difficulties that can be traced back to this occurrence. Even though the public relations effort was considered to be a big success, the organizers and the participants noticed that the media's attention had changed from the athletes' stories to an increased focus on the couple's personal and stylistic attributes. Many people have expressed their concerns about this tendency, which, as reported by a number of individuals, has reoccurred in following editions. There have been connections made between certain visits and challenges that have arisen in the realm of operations. Many of the athletes who have to deal with these challenges are those who have mobility limitations and require specific safety measures. These challenges include requests for individual green rooms, separate meal arrangements, and large personal entourages, all of which have made logistics more complicated. The presence of documentary film crews in both Dusseldorf and The Hague generated a great deal of discussion. The veterans often reported feeling uncomfortable about the filming that was taking place continuously, and the setting, which a lot of them felt was more like the set of a film than it was a supportive and competitive atmosphere. Despite their preference for solitude or private time with family, it appears that a number of the participants were subjected to an implicit pressure that compelled them to participate in video conversations or on-camera interviews. It was also alleged that the team of the Duchess investigated commercial opportunities that were connected to the games, such as merchandising collaboration strategies and products that were branded with the name Sussex. In order to fulfill its commitment to supporting veterans and to uphold its status as a nonprofit organization, the leadership of the Invictus Games Foundation has taken the step of conducting comprehensive assessments of possible partnerships. This has been made necessary by the organization's reliance on sponsorship from corporations. According to reports, the people who are familiar with the foundation thought that the implementation of personal branding initiatives was not in line with the goals of the organization and could be considered to be exploitative. The relatives of athletes, a large number of whom had offered their support to their loved ones during their rehabilitation and recovery, expressed their dissatisfaction with the fact that media coverage frequently gave precedence to stories about royal relationships and fashion instead of the authentic experiences of veterans. It has been suggested that the royal family's position was justified to a great extent by these feelings of frustration which had accumulated and were subsequently passed along to the leadership of Invictus and palace officials in an informal manner. Rather than administering a punishment, the course of action that was taken was to preserve the integrity of the institution. A travel was made to Canada in February of 2024 in order to take part in the 1 year to go Invictus ceremony. This journey was a critical event that transpired during the escalation of hostilities, according to these stories. Because of Canada's status as a Commonwealth nation, any visits made by members of the royal family, particularly those that are unofficial, have diplomatic consequences. It is of the utmost importance to get in touch with both Buckingham Palace and the Office of the Governor-General in advance in order to make the visit possible and to guarantee its success. According to insiders from the palace, an internal investigation came to the conclusion that in the matter of the Sussexes, the protocols had not been adhered to. The representatives of the marriage purportedly claimed that a polite message had been received by the palace in response to the palace authorities' request for explanation. Nevertheless, the claims, the data that supports them, and the statements from Canadian authorities did not reveal any written notifications that complied with the customary procedure. This contradiction was seen as being more than simply a procedural blunder by those who were familiar with the palace's functioning. They interpreted it as a strategy that would enable them to transcend the established institutional framework while simultaneously reaping the benefits of the social and media advantages that come with being a member of a royal family. According to sources, an internal evaluation was created and then distributed to top members of the royal family. The examination involved taking notes on the dates, noting the conflicting claims, and noting the lack of any evidence that could provide support. The conclusion that was drawn at the end of the review was that the purposeful obfuscation had taken place. After comparing the finding to the current sensitivities that exist in Invictus's relationship with the armed forces, as well as to the ideals of duty and honor, it was determined that the conclusion was supposedly an essential element in the restriction of the Duchess's engagement. The development of the business relationship with Netflix served to exacerbate the already existing worries of the institution. According to information provided by knowledgeable individuals, Netflix demonstrated interest in acquiring extensive behind-the-scenes access, which included obtaining permissions for sensitive contexts, such as therapy sessions, private family gatherings, and instances of human vulnerability. This interest was prompted following the debut of Heart of Invictus, at which point sources reported that Netflix was seeking projects that emphasize the Duchess's role with the goal of producing documentaries that highlight her advocacy amidst adversity and portray an emotional return. In addition to this, they asked for the exclusive right to conduct interviews with specific injured veterans. According to published sources, a number of proposals contained contractual agreements that allowed producers to have significant editorial control over the content, And according to certain insiders, some proposals even included offers of financial compensation to veterans in return for exclusive rights to tell their memories. These suggestions have prompted a great deal of concern from veterans and their families, who view the games as a place of refuge and honorable competition rather than as a method of financial exploitation. The idea that the foundation's aim was in direct opposition to the concept of commercializing extremely intimate stories was asserted by a substantial number of people. King Charles demonstrated both alacrity and decisiveness in his response when he was made aware of the alleged scale of the demands that had been made by Netflix. He made the claim that any event that was connected in any way to the Crown, especially those that honored the service personnel of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth, ought not to participate in any contracts that treat the experiences of veterans as commodities. The Invictus Games Foundation has implemented a ban on production teams that are not accredited and that are connected to personal initiatives in reaction to these concerns. Due to the fact that her possible involvement was contingent upon her responsibilities to create material for Netflix, which is in conflict with the policies that have been set in place, the Duchess is no longer permitted to attend the event as a result of the new limits that have been implemented by the foundation. It is generally believed by people who are well informed that these occurrences indicate a clear and unmistakable reorganization in the connection between the royal family and the Sussexes. The act of excluding the Duchess is not depicted as a single punitive measure. Rather, it is presented as a purposeful manifestation of a protracted approach that seeks to contain and separate. The stories imply that the senior royals have made a decision to strengthen the protocols of their institution, distinguishing between those individuals who are carrying out official royal tasks and those who are not. At the same time, they are attempting to avoid any public disagreements that could attract more attention from the media toward the Sussexes. The monarchy's strategy emphasizes the ongoing nature of public service, while also working to reduce any potential consequences for the institution that may arise from its connection to the couple who live in Montecito. The autonomy that Prince Harry will have in the future is restricted by this development. Whether or not he continues to have an affiliation with charitable organizations and institutions in the United Kingdom, such as the Invictus Games, will be contingent upon his adherence to more stringent conditions. According to the testimony of witnesses, he has achieved only a little amount of success in his attempts to balance his commitment to his family with his allegiance to his new wife. The exclusion of the Duchess from an event that is inextricably tied to the name of her husband and the cause she supports represents a real restriction on her access to the royal domain, as well as the public whom she is attempting to involve in discussions about veteran concerns. The foundation has made a statement indicating that the Invictus events would continue to take place, with a greater emphasis being placed on the injured service members, who are the very individuals that the events were initially founded to honor. Nevertheless, there is evidence of considerable, possibly long-lasting disagreement within the House of Windsor as a result of the debate that has emerged in relation to this particular edition of the event. By placing greater emphasis on the importance of adhering to established procedures and maintaining institutional boundaries, the members of the royal family have signaled a change in their relationship with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, moving away from a lack of clarity toward a more formalized and detached partnership. It is envisaged that this approach will have an impact on the interactions that will occur in the future, the perceptions of the public, and the practical limitations of engagement between the non-working royals and the institution that they formerly represented. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and say goodbye for now.